All right, we're live. Welcome to the replay. Hopefully, this is not too long. I want to have a conversation that might feel out of season, especially considering the time that I'm doing this at the end of the year. It might feel like it's irrelevant, but the trick is, I think it very much is relevant. I think many of you will resonate with what I'm about to share, and that's why I'm doing it. So, if this is your first time here. I'm Mo James, founder of Confidence Coaching for Her. We are a brand that supports women with their self discovery, with their courage, and with their authentic self expression in their life because all of those elements make up confidence. That's what confidence really is. And so, I want to talk about today, particularly this conversation resonated with me, particularly now, because at this time of year, today is December 12th, we're sliding into the end of a year. And generally speaking, there is this, it's almost like this cultural pressure to be in a good mood. Like we are supposed to be finishing the year strong and making plans for the new year and trying to kill it and doing all of these things, right, that we're supposed to be doing. But I realize that there are a lot of people right now who are experiencing grief. And I'm not even talking about the grief that is coming from watching the news, like, yes, reading the newspaper. Like, there's a lot that could be stoking the embers of grief in us, and the it might feel like it conflicts with the expected feelings of uh, being excited about a new year. And so I just want to talk really quickly. If you are experiencing grief right now, first I want you to know that it's not just you. And again, considering what is happening in the world right now, grief is to be expected. For the people who maybe are less tuned in for the sake of your mental health to what is happening, to all of the things, because I'm not even talking about one thing in particular, all of the things that are happening in the world right now, you might be choosing not to tune into those things out of self protection. And I understand that. And at the same time, when you look at your own life, there is things that are happening in the world and things that might be happening in your world. And when you look at the things that are happening in your world, you might be struggling with feeling that enthusiasm and excitement for a new year. And so I want you to know that you are not alone. And I hope that in the course of this conversation, you will have some takeaways, some resources to help you work through it. Because here's the thing, many of us go into like, we start reflecting this time of year, right? We start thinking about, typically, culturally, society tells us, oh, this is a time you need to start collecting your receipts and running down all of your accomplishments and all of those things. But what if the things that come up for you when you do that time of self-reflection, when you sit and think about what has happened in your year, what if those things are not things that you want to celebrate, right? So it kind of feels weird. It feels inappropriate to recognize that there might be some stuff, some changes that you went through that were unexpected, that were unplanned for, that were unwanted. There might be some dreams and goals that you did not accomplish. There might be some relationships that ended or that transitioned in a way that feels like a loss. There might be some You might be looking at your children, if you have them, or young people in your lives, or elders in your lives, and realizing that time is not waiting on us. And so all of those things might be bringing up feelings that seem to be inappropriate for this time of year, because culture tells us We're supposed to be excited. You know, culture tells us we're supposed to be looking forward to a new year. That's what culture tells us. But culture don't live in our house. So I want to first acknowledge the grief that you might be experiencing. And I'm saying grief, and I'm specifically talking about instances that are sad, but understand that even if you experience good things this year, there is still grief that comes with the change. Even if you got a promotion this year, maybe you got a new job and you moved to someplace new for a new job, there is grief from what you had to leave, right? Even what, it doesn't matter what the thing is, change, any type of change brings grief. I'm specifically talking to the people who are thinking about this year for them and not really finding anything that they want to celebrate. And so you feel like there is no place for you in this end of year conversation because the loudest voices are making it all about things that need to be celebrated. I'm specifically talking to those people. So, first and foremost, I in this conversation want to acknowledge those feelings because they are real, they are valid, they deserve to be acknowledged. They don't deserve to be, they don't need to be validated. Just because you experience them, that's enough. And I want to remind or just remind all of us that sometimes that reflection, that end of year reflection, that look back, sometimes it brings uncertainty. Like I said, sometimes it brings grief, sometimes it brings inspiration. But the whole point is not to bypass it. You know, I was having a conversation with somebody recently who was kind of talking about a difficult situation that they've been in and having recognized what a lesson, like one of those life lessons from the situation is going to be. And it was it was kind of recognizing that they had sold themselves short, like that they had not stood up for themselves in the way that they could have. And as soon as they said that, they immediately said, "But that's okay." And I was like, "But what if it's not okay?" Like, why do we sometimes feel like when we acknowledge hard things or when we acknowledge difficult things, our instinct is to immediately go to, "But I'll be all right though." But hold up. What if we need to sit in the grief for a minute? Like, what if we need to give the grief time to leave on its own and not try to slam the door in grief's face? Because if anybody watching this grieve, you could try to shut that thing down all you want to. It will come back. And it will come back and come up and come out when it feels like it. And so sometimes I think it's important that we acknowledge it. Not even sometimes. All the time it's important to acknowledge it. And sometimes, not sometimes, all the time, we have to allow it to pass instead of trying to force it out. So I want to give you some supportive resources. Just some things that, stuff that I've been doing because I am in my own season of navigating change and transition and all of those things. Um, so I wanted to just give you some support, just some things to help you if you are right now experiencing that grief, end of year, even new year grief. So the first resource, the first practice or habit that I want to encourage you to start doing to implement into your life is journaling. Now, I know that sounds real basic. Sounds so basic, like it's insignificant. Here's the thing. Journaling is an opportunity for you to acknowledge your feelings. So, particularly if you are in relationships with people or if you have a learned practice of not acknowledging your feelings and bypassing those the feelings that are less acceptable, Journaling gives you an opportunity to do that. It's a Journaling is a practice in honoring your worth. When you give yourself the space and the time to be honest with you about what you are feeling, you are honoring your worth. So I want to encourage you. Like I'm sitting here right now with, so I have two journals. Like, duh, we have a journal. We sell a journal, the Inner Strength Journal, that is available. And I have my journal. Like, and this is I've been journaling off and on since I was 11 years old. And so I'm like kind of like Oprah. Y'all hear how Oprah talks about how she kept her journals. She's kept all of her journals her whole life. I don't have all of mine, but I have a lot of them. And journaling for me gives me an opportunity to document my receipts, and also I can look back and see how far I've come. I can see my own progression. So when life gets to lifing and you forget who you are, you can go back to that journal and remember, you know what? I've dealt with this before. I overcame it. So nothing or nobody is going to try to talk me out of overcoming it now. That's what journaling does for me. And so I bookmarked this page in particular because I think as we're talking about honoring your worth and self discovery and all of that, this particular prompt I want to give you. If you don't have the journal, grab it. The link will be in wherever you're watching this, but I want to give you this one. How do you feel in your body when you're being your true self? How do you feel in your body when you are being your true self? And as we're having this conversation about acknowledging if the thing that you are feeling right now at the end of the year is grief instead of joy and excitement and enthusiasm, think about how it feels to know in your mind that what you are experiencing is not the same as everybody else. Like to know in your mind that you are the thing that is not like the other. And that could create a pressure to conform or perform. And you feel that in your body. So when you think about honoring those feelings, telling the truth about those feelings, writing those feelings down, allowing those feelings to pass, asking those feelings, what are you here to teach me? That's when you start to allow your authentic self to show up. So, journaling. Next one is community or connection. Again, we, I know sometimes some of us in certain cultures have been fed the narrative of, it being a badge of honor that we are so independent and that we don't need anybody, we don't need any help, blah, 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 blah. I am here to tell you that you are deserving of support. And if you recognize that in this season you need support, that could be a friend group, that could be a therapist, that could be a coach, that could be prayer, that could be meditation, that could be walks, that could be exercise, that could be whatever it is, whatever. Give it to yourself. Give it to yourself. Not because I'm not even saying that from a space of ego. I'm saying that from a space of you deserve support. And sometimes the support you deserve starts with you all the time. The support you deserve starts with you. You showing up for yourself, you connecting with you, and then putting yourself in space with people who resonate with the life that you're creating. They resonate with the journey that you're on, and they can hold you accountable. They can encourage you. They can uplift you. Which brings me into the third tip, resource, practice that you can implement is self-care. And I'm not talking about self-care in the way that culture talks about self-care. Like, I mean, listen, if you know you need a massage, go get it. But I'm talking about activities in whatever way they show up for you that nurture your spirit. Activities that nourish you on the inside so that you can show up in the world and be who you were created to be. Giving yourself, taking the time to care for yourself in the way that you know you deserve to be cared for. Again, it's another way to honor your worthiness. And then the last resource, the last tip is professional help. Going back, therapist, coach, whatever. Get to call the professional in. Call the professional in and allow the professional to guide you. Allow somebody else to be a shortcut to the destination that you are trying to get to. That's okay. It doesn't make you any less brilliant and capable and proficient in all those things. Why choose to take the longer um, the longer route when you can find someone to help you get there? You can learn and you can benefit from their wisdom. So again, at the time that we are having this conversation live, I want you to know that it is okay. There is nothing wrong with you if you, right now, as you are thinking about what this year has given you, what you have taken away from this year, what this year has presented in your life, you think about all of those things and you are experiencing some grief. That is okay. There there actually is a lot to grieve if we being honest. And I want you to give yourself the the space and permission to honor and acknowledge the grief and allow the grief to pass. Normally, in this conversation, in a grief conversation, we'd be talking about resilience, right? I think sometimes, again, we celebrate resilience without acknowledging the harm for which we needed the resilience to overcome. And so I just wanted to create the space for those of us who need it to call out the grief, to say it's real, to admit that it's happening, and to press pause on that immediate reaction of, but I'll overcome, but we'll get better. Like sometimes we just have to sit in it. I can't, there's a better way to say that, but I just can't think of it right now. Sometimes we just have to sit in it. And so I wanted to create the opportunity for us to acknowledge it, and when the time feels right for you, you can start implementing journaling, connection, self-care, professional support when the time is right for you. Do not feel like you have to accelerate your process, accelerate your journey through grief. Um, Grief is a real thing. Grief is, there's wisdom in grief. And I think the wisdom that can come from it will only come if we stop long enough to hear what it has to say. So that was kind of just rambling, just off the top of my head, y'all. It's just been on me for a while. Just the whole bypassing thing. Like, can we just not do that? Can we just be honest about what we feel for 5 minutes? Um, I think as we go into this new year, armed with a greater self awareness, a greater emotional intelligence, That's what's going to allow us to create all of the things that we said we want in the new year. Because we'll be doing it from a place of authenticity. We'll be doing it from a grounding of who we are for real, and not just from superficial whatevers. We'll be doing it from a place of lasting uh, inner strength, of lasting confidence and nurturing. And that's what we deserve. So, thank y'all for tuning in. If you have any questions, comments, anything, drop them in the comments. I hope this resonated with you. I hope you will give yourself the space to process whatever it is that you are feeling. Do not reject the pressure to be hustling, grinding, making plans, all of that stuff, if that's not what your body is telling you you need right now. If your body is telling you you need to pause and be still, I hope you will listen to her. All right. I appreciate you all. Thanks for listening. Honor your worth. Practice taking care, listening to, nurturing you. And I promise you, everything else that surrounds you will get in line. And just know, getting in line either means supporting it or self eliminating. And that's okay.